Okay. I didn't have much time. Get this started. Um, okay. Okay. So I need to get Liquid Sky back up and running. There's no question about it. The only right thing to do is to get the actual application running again on Kubernetes. So stacks infra. So getting console up and running is my only way. Because if I can get console up and running, then I can get the configuration loaded and get the application started again, use it for management, and then be able to move on. If I can't do that, then I basically end up having to recode all the pieces for all the Kafka pieces, because the one thing I didn't do here, if I open Liquid Sky, the one thing I didn't allow for was so look, Kafka was kind of the fallback of anything else, right? I'm not sure I should allow for a fallback. I think I have an intended design. I should use that. But yeah, it's not stunning to have that just bring the entire system down. But I can't just drop a file in a directory and have it run right now, because this will not use that file anyway by that. So I have to forge forward if I want to get the system up and running again, so I can continue my efforts with notifications and stuff and leave this for a later day. My hope is that what I can do is make this more stable. If we can make it more stable and understand how to fix things, then I don't have that worry. This was caused by the system being off for 7 days. But then when it came back up, I think it pulled a later version of the console image and basically wiped it out. So it is coming up, but it is not coming up ideally. Today will be just a short stream. I have got an appointment pretty much straight in an hour, so I have to cut this one short. I don't mean an appointment, a meeting, not an appointment. It was a meeting dropped on my schedule at an early time. So let's use the tools we have available. I am configuring console to run a single instance, but when it starts, it winds. So workloads, pods. Did I leave this pod up and running? No, I did not. Okay. Phil Schnabel, hello. Good morning or good afternoon. Hope you are well. It tells me that it cannot find the leader. I've had Copilot really go weird on me the last couple of days in terms of it doing this and then just erroring and saying, nope, can't do it. After it starts showing results. Replace Bootstrap. That would make sense actually. So you should use Bootstrap. Let's try that. If this is the case, then this is awesome. This solves this right this second, and we're good. Pulumi up-f. So if this works, what we do is we go and restart all the other pods for the application, because this will then come back up. Hey, Mizkin. Good morning. Hope you are well. I am starting the day off with some Kubernetes. So this is my normal project. This is Liquid Sky. This is my project management and planning platform I've been building. And right this second, it has been struggling because I made a design decision that is less than ideal. That doesn't look terrible. So let's do this. kubectl. Yep, that looks, oh no, that's, yes, that was right. That was much healthier. So Kafka configuration. Save. Okay. So now if we go here, oh, come on. Don't you fail. Don't you do this. Not healthy. Okay, so let's restart that. Restart that. Let's see what happens. Morning, k8s. Evict that. Oh, it was slow. Evict that. So these services all require that console configuration. So, morning, daughter. That's good to hear. Yeah. Well, look after yourself. Okay, let's see how many of these come back. Oh, really? We're gonna. Oh, there we go. Oh, believe me, if hiring was a thing for me in this project, that would be 100% what I would be doing. Why are you showing us completed? Login failed. Please tell me it didn't reset the database. kubectl port forward svc ls SQL service. Why guy? Person. I get the generality. So everything else is running except view receivers and identity receivers. And they're failing because they have database connection. Login failed for LST. Have I wiped out the databases is the question. Database reset. That's awful. That is truly awful. Oh dear. Oh, restore. Restore. That's just irritating. The databases are in the backup folder, which means the storage hasn't reset. Just the SQL server has reset. But now I'm going to have to join all those databases again. Because when you do that, the logins don't. Yes. Yeah, DB backups, yeah. It shouldn't have restarted the database though. It shouldn't have reset this. It should have just come back up because I didn't reset that storage. So it's not persisting the restart, which is not healthy. So you see how those are failing? That's interesting that they eventually failed, but that's frustrating. Well, it's a lesson in if you are going to come up with a more complicated design, right? If you are going to produce something that is um you know, it has benefits as a developer, it has benefits as a deployment thing for the company, but there's a cost to that, right? This is the cost. The cost is I'm going to end up adding more work to the automation, and if something goes wrong in this, it's not code based, it's data based, and that's, you know, that's the risk. Okay, so the user exists. Are you restarting? Are you not restarting? Are you just timing out? We need to open control tower. It's been a while since I opened control tower. Yeah, mine too. And you know, they have to worry about it. They have to worry about us breaking things. Right? Okay, so done that. Already exists in the database. Okay. Yeah, but oh no, hold on. This is not the same. This is a different problem. So when you create a login, right? Database objects, database principals, ctadmin. I need to delete that and re-add it because now that will not associate with the same user. Yeah. Yeah, I mean basically I'm not really doing this in the smartest possible way, right? I'm doing this in the I need to do it now sort of way, which is probably not the healthiest way to do this. LS tenant admin. Okay, there you go. That's that. What we should see is the pods start to just work. Database objects. So again, you create a login to the database, and then you create a user on the database, and then you create a login for that database against the user on the. Yeah, it's. I'm not sure I've ever really got my head around it. Which one's this? Identity. It should go down the list. Okay. So all I'm doing here is creating. It's the same script. Different database, but same script. Okay, so then there. DBO. There we go. That's our organization management. That. Planning items. Tasks. My hope would be that I do not have to do this all the time, right? So far, the system's been coming back up without issue when I've shut it down. So I'm not sure why. Tenant management. Did I run this on tasks? I did, didn't I? Yes. And then view. View. I don't think I'm missing any databases. Okay. Evict that. Evict that. Let's see. So yeah, that's reading from the database. And that's reading from the database. So that's looking healthier. Evict, yes. Evict, yes. Evict, yes. Evict, yes. Evict, yes. All this because I tried to drag and drop a work item. Okay. So now we should be able to go to the ops and DevOps part of this are probably a full-time job. In a larger system like this, 100%. I think, you know, as I've gone through this, I haven't changed my opinion that that DevOps should be more integrated into teams. So how do you get around that, I wonder? What you mean from my perspective doing this? It's just something I'm going to have to accept that I need to do on a routine basis, right? I need to do the ops side as much as I do the dev side. Like, because there's optimizations, there's clearly better tools, there's better, but I don't have enough brain power to go off and research that and research dev and do this in dev and do that in dev. And I want to achieve, so the point there is there's going to be something that's going to cost or to suffer, right? I'm not going to get the most perfect system, right? I know that I'm trying to avoid the system that is built in the quickest possible way. And yeah, that's not exactly ideal. I should have done this 2 years ago or whatever, and done it in 3 months and, got it out there and then refined it later, which I feel is an impossible situation. But the cost of doing it that way is that I don't get to be able to do everything. Yeah. Hey, Pizza, how you doing? Welcome in. So yeah. So again, priorities, right? So yes, this is the less than ideal path, having the console system up and running, but it's the path that works the best for right now for getting the application up. What we're working on. So this is Project Liquid Sky, not a Jira clone. Stop saying Jira clone. You're making it hard to not mention the Jira word. It's not a Jira clone. Trying to motivate me to say the right things. This is a tool that I've been building on stream for over a year. Basically, this is the things I see wrong with development teams in a day-to-day, or product and development teams in day-to-day, and it's my kind of attempt to address those deficiencies. So concept is product build requirements out. They dictate what they want, how they want it. These are as big or as small as they want them to be. Just allow them to kind of group all the things they think of as one into one piece. From there, allow the developers to task those things out to break down those requirements. So product delivers requirements, developers deliver estimations of actual work to be done. And these are technical, these are, vertical slices, or these are, however the development team works to get stuff done is how they get stuff done. Estimates are estimates. They are not time. They are not points. They are just estimates right this second. They're just a number that gives an estimate, and that's what it should be. Accuracy of estimates is calculated later. So the idea being that the developers own the tasking and own that, and from a development perspective, so tasks over here, developers are able to identify, based off the requirement, here's how we should be doing this. So this is what this requirement binds back to. So from the developer's perspective, when they're working on stuff, they're working on items. They're not working on stories or product things. They're working on actual achieving things with a goal. So the goal being, the requirement. Yeah. So breaking out the whole planning flow before any work, and then splitting out the actual work to be done. So what I've just been doing is getting my Kubernetes. This is the actual running version right this second. And Kubernetes was, I had issues with my console configuration. Give me a bit of a nightmare. So yeah. And apparently I needed to do a commit because I've changed a lot and I didn't commit it. So that's a bad thing. Yeah, and that's by design, right? The design, the point is this side of the house. The sprint board has received less work, most of it. Yeah, this side of the thing has kind of just just worked. I mean, right now it's a Kanban essentially. I mean, we got the concept of a sprint, but yeah, but I'm using it as Kanban. That's what started this 2 days ago, that ability to do that. So yeah, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what you see, you're more than welcome to join in. You're more than welcome to have a conversation about stuff. If you want to learn stuff about this, or the technologies I use, feel free. I am happy to talk. I do this to share that. Seems like more time into the sprint board would be good. Morning, Marneth. How you doing? But the sprint board right now, again, I'm not equipped to yes, this is the app, and I'm using it to plan the app. Yes, I am dog fooding the app. This is actually what I'm working on. Yeah. Well, sprint planning doesn't, again, from a sprint planning perspective, we've got to get there, right? We've got to actually get to that, because sprint planning comes in between here and here, right? Fantastic day, ran some tests, it's collapsing my problem space, at writer speed, nice. It looks like the planning side is 95% done and the sprint board is less than that. Oh yeah, we're nowhere near on the planning side, by the way. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the chance to consider these things, right? Like, am I taking it too far? Am I overthinking it? So right now, what we're working on, what I have been working on for the past couple of weeks, is the ability to kind of subscribe to notifications on these things. So I want to know when something changes about one of these items, so that I can be told, I can be told as a summary, I can be told as a push notification, etc. That's a very important part to me, because I think that what we do is we end up in this world of, I don't know what's happening. So if you can say, hey, subscribe to notifications on an initiative, or subscribe to notifications on these planning items, and keep a closer eye on them, by virtue of, if something changes, I want to know. If something changes, I want a summary at the end of the day, or I want a summary at the end of the week, so I can kind of review what's happened. And if nothing's happened, I can say, okay, well, I'm not seeing movement on this. Why? And rather than having to go, what's happening with this, right? If you don't see movement, then the developers aren't doing what they should do, and the development teams aren't doing what they should do, and things aren't moving. Because the idea of this is to allow the developers to break down those tasks into small achievable chunks and not create these massive things because product developed a story that needs a whole ton of work to be done before it can move, right? So, this is so that we can deliver the parts and deliver the value at the same thing. Another approach would be just don't include the sprint part. Well, so yeah, I can remove the word sprint for a while and just make it pure Kanban, which would work. Ultimately how we use these tools, is, yeah. So to make it like sprint worthy, I need to put in some tracking of the times. I need to show, your over schedule, etc. I also need to show some sort of burn downs and stuff like that. Yeah, and also customization of lanes and labels and stuff all needs to be done before this can even be considered, because it won't fit people's process. However, that being said, I do not want to. I'm going to simplify that under the scenes, behind the scenes, under the scenes. In that, ultimately, there is only a few states, right? And I'm going to allow you to put in more lanes if you want to, just to represent them. But there's a state that transitions. So one of the thoughts I have is when this becomes complete, you can have other tasks that are able to be added. So you can actually make a task dependent upon other tasks. So when this gets moved to complete, it notifies people and triggers the fact that those tasks can now be started. So if you break out QA from dev, I'm going to read that in a second. You can see the word Jira. If you have QA broken out from dev, which I feel is a good idea, then QA can have their own Kanban board and their tasks can sit there and show us inactive until one of these is finished. And when this is finished, those tasks become active, and now they can start working on them, so then they can move them to in progress. So not necessarily revolutionary, but unlocking the workflow by telling the users when things are ready. Like if you move it to complete, again, it's your responsibility. If that activates another task and it's not ready yet, then that's on you, right? So if the development team wants to have a dev complete verifying section, they can do that. But then when they move it to complete, it will trigger something else. So I do want that workflow, because I think that even if the QA have the same tasks in the same sprint board. So again, one of the benefits of the way this is broken down is if QA have tasks, they'll show here as well. So you'll understand QA versus dev tasks. There'll be labels on teams, etc. Not teams, on groups here. So you'll know, there's 4 dev tasks and 5 QA tasks. And the QA tasks might be estimated differently or whatever, but you'll, as a product manager, you'll be able to see, all the devs complete, but the QA is in progress, right? So that's kind of the idea. So that visually, you can get to what you need. I need to be right back. I think my dog has decided that escaping was a good idea. Be right back. Okay, sorry about that. They were their barking sounded like it was awfully close to the front of the house. I'm like, whoa, no. If they have dev test in production, the company will want a different Jira board than if it's just prod. Well, release management is something that will have to come later. And I think that's its own. Sorry. Because of the way I'm breaking this down, and hello, Stony, by the way, my apologies. Because of the way I'm breaking this down, the hey, maybe, how you doing? Tell Dave to do some work, will you? uh, I treat maybe it's talking. Yeah, I've just been talking. uh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, the intent is very much to keep this momentum. So we have some progress here. We got console up and running, which was the only option I had available to me. Let's now commit unversioned files. 11,000 unversioned files. What? Oh, node modules. Yeah, that's not gonna do it for me, I think. Do I have a git ignore in here? I best have a git ignore in here. Welcome back. Stacks. Do 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 do. Ba do do ba do do. No, ask. Generate. Do 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 do. There's a lovely copy button right there. You can use it. Okay, Pulumi, Liquid Sky. There's lots of uses for AI. I genuinely believe that. Git ignore. Ignore. Open with Notepad. And we put that there, and then that goes there, and that should update, and that. Interesting. Organize stacks as dev infrastructure. Let's see what it says. I did. Reorganize stacks dev infrastructure when the system is dated. Switched out. Change console. Since commit and push. I'll worry about the merge on that afterwards. What I've done there is I've made the mistake of not committing after a long session playing that. And that's bad. I've got to pay as much attention. So part of the point of when I started this part is you have to pay as much attention to this component, as we started saying, right, as the dev. It matters just as much. And but it can be as refined. It can be a programmatic solution that we can actually build out. But again, I do not have the expertise or brain power to tackle that and tackle the rest of the system properly. So I do realize that I'm going to cut corners, and yes, that's less than ideal. However, yeah. So let's go back to this. So ultimately, there, as a planning item, um, this is where this system doesn't quite fit. So technical debt items are oftentimes a bugbear to represent in both in Jira, in any other tool I've seen. Because where does a technical debt item fit? Planning isn't going to put requirements on it, right? So if I put it in planning here, I'm able to put it here because I'm a technical person. It does need to be allowed for, it does need to be planned for, so it does need to be visible, but how do we highlight that? So it might be that we end up with tags able to highlight technical versus non-technical items. But it needs to be represented, because if we're showing if we're figuring out planning boards, etc., right? So let's take this a little bit for yeah, come with me on a journey to envision a future where basically these are all planned, right? So let's say let's go to one that is actually planned. So the development team has sat down, they've tasked everything out. They've not started anything yet. They've just planned it out, right? The product team's delivered the requirements early enough. The development team's gone off and estimated the effort required to do this, and these have estimates on them. They have total estimates of effort added to them. The product team, looking at the schedule, looking at the initiatives, looking at that, is able to see a board that shows them, here's what you've got, put them in there, and it gives them an estimate on whether they think whether they, in their given time frame, they think that will fit, and allow them to truly move things around. Technical debt items would obviously highlight in there and come with recommendations, because it might be that, again, when we're talking about technical debt, it's up to the development teams, whether that be DevOps, whether that be actual feature dev or QA, etc. It's up to them to relay the importance of doing something before another thing, right? So that the best decision can be made. So that's why you can add dependencies in here, right? So if we say this planning item can't be done because of this item, right, then we have to tackle that one first. Right, but again, it instead of it's going to be all broken, this is the cost, etc. What we need to be able to do is relate. You can't have this because of this, and it's also why having a development team go off and plan something, design something, and work with something, right? Even if you've got architects that are oversight of the actual application stack, the DevOps specialists know how the system is deployed, know how the system is running, how it's tuned, everything else. So they should be able to have a say in that as well, and be able to say, nope, you can't have this because we need to do this first, we need to do this first. So if there's a DevOps task that is holding things, that can be planned as well, right? There's no reason why we can't make it all visible, right? And you can see, we're making progress in this. And if the intention of all the notifications, all the visibility in this is that without people constantly asking where things are, it becomes easier for people to prioritize and to focus on the one thing rather than all the things at once, right? We're oftentimes struggling with balancing which part am I doing? How am I doing this? What am I doing with this? Yeah. Are we building the right items? Well, that's a question that product needs to be constantly asking, right? Are we building the right things? Product does need to be reviewing requirements. Product does need to be reviewing customer feedback and make sure that the teams are focused in the right direction at the right time. No, but but again, they are part of the team. We're all part of the team, right? That's always been my point, is we're a team that often contends over how we represent the information, who understands what from where, etc. So what I want to do is bring those things together, but keep them apart, right? So keep them specialized. So DevOps, if there's DevOps requirements for something, right, there might be tasks in here that have DevOps or QA. That's kind of what you and I, like, you helped me figure out more later, a long time ago. This view isn't always going to look like this, but this list of tasks, right, is the things necessary to achieve this this requirement, right? So if DevOps and QA have items that need to be validated and tested on this or be done, that's fine. If a task has a dependency on another task, that will be highlighted, right? And basically visualize that to the product teams. Right, but if there's a specific DevOps requirement, a planning item required for DevOps, because a let's say a new feature needs to be implemented at a initiative level. So you think a DevOps initiative, I mean, that's feasible if there's a whole lot of infrastructure required for something. You'd plan it out like everything else. You get to pick your, again, that planning board that I'm thinking of has a lot of moving parts. Like updating the DB version. That's not necessarily an initiative. That is a planning item that would need to be tracked. That would cross initiatives. But you would then say, oh, these planning items have a dependency on that version, so we can't proceed with these planning items until that one's done. So we have a natural bottleneck. I mean, we could go down that path, infinitely, right? Because there's all manner of different potential things that trip that up. And until I get this to a point where I can actually put this in front of people, that's going to be the case. I could drive myself crazy with the what ifs. I like the whole dog fooding thing. Been making my own code editor. Nice. How's that going? You any particular? I want to be careful how I ask this because I don't mean it in any negative way. What made you build your own code editor? And what features are you trying to introduce there? Yeah. Well, they matter in so much as they are use cases, and use cases definitely should be validated. I feel that I don't have enough completed to even tackle those use cases explicitly. Yeah. Mostly just for fun, but I'm also not about how bloated VS Code is becoming. Gotcha. Just for fun's a good reason. I build a DevOps pipeline. Does click with me more so than Vim or something. Yeah, I'm not a Vim user. I've tried a few times. It is not gone well. the reason I wanted to be careful about how I asked is because I'm not judging creating your own text editor. I think it's a perfectly good thing to do. I develop plenty of stuff that is, you know, I develop plenty of stuff that is uh, um, already been done. But yeah, Vim, you really invest into editors. Same with JetBrains. People just don't realize it. Uh, Liking a tool, using it, being productive with a tool is different than being how's the word? Not obsessive. I can't think of how to describe what I'm saying there. Um, you know, like tribal. My way or the highway sort of approach, which is a lot of people like, oh, why aren't you using Vim? Vim's tricky. If you don't hit escape at the end of everything you type, it will just never click. Yeah, yeah. It... Apologies term for obsessive. Yeah. Okay, so we did get these in. We got the Saga. Oh, they didn't generate. Oh yeah, they did. I just got a deprecated package there, so we need to go and make sure that's deprecated. Sign in with Microsoft. Let's move that off there. We don't need to do this on stream. Ba, 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 ba. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to deprecate that package, right? So publish packages, Saga generators needs to be listing on list. There we go. We don't want that to show. There's definitely a product choice for developing the initiative side more versus going into the swim lanes. That's the latter I don't find interesting, with the former I do. So to me, again, this tool, this thing I'm building is not for developers. It's for product teams first. And the developers, again, if you look at how we use Jira, if you look at how we use those tools, we're not actually the biggest users of them. It's management that's the biggest user of those tools. It is a means to an end for us to relay what we're working on. But the problem is that so much fluff is added around the outside that what we're working on is kind of lost in the mix because it gets put in a story that's too big, or we're working on something too long and like, oh, where's this epic going, or what are these, what's the progress on this, etc. So allowing the developers to break things down into tasks they understand, estimate tasks they understand at a technical level, I feel will help the planning aspect, because they will be able to focus on achieving the requirement and represent that without worrying about how it fits into someone else's representation of that story. At the same time, it will allow the product team to hold the story together and show all the items. So if the product team creates 5 planning items, like this one could be more than one planning item, right? But there's no value added if we're not doing that. Hi Lindell, how you doing? Hi Dukasoff, by the way. My apologies. You came in first there. I apologize. Mid speech. How you guys doing? You're not gonna like me in a minute. Yeah. No worries, Delta. Take care. So yeah, the overall goal is to allow everyone to be productive while providing the visibility, right? The wonderful English language, whether you pronounce that do or do. Repositories. Sorry, I didn't. That's the problem with the teleprompter, with the prompter, teleprompter. The problem with the prompter is that you don't see certain events appear. So the derail. Yeah. Um, yes. Yeah. Yeah. The Elgato one is good. I like it. I like it a lot. But it does mean that I would probably do better with a screen, a smaller screen set up there with the Twitch chat just dropped on it sometimes, because it gives me more context of what's actually going on. Um, okay. Oh, repositories. Before I get too far off track there, um, that's one thing I wanted to kind of just show specifically, Dindle. Um, One of the way I'm using repositories is I'm using Ardalis's repositories. I have food, also I have a cat. Nice. So I don't end up creating specific repositories. I end up creating specifications, but my specifications live like this, where they're just a query, which means that as I'm retrieving something, I just say repository dot, and here's the spec. So like unit of work and repositories to me are a challenge. Because I feel that the Ardalic spec stuff does still meet that repository need. It just means that the individual methods you might put on a repository are independent, which I like. I like that organization, that separation. So I don't think the repository behaves very differently, but it does mean that I do have to. Yeah. It didn't work if you have mixed sources is the hardest thing to deal with. I do like the query thing. Oh, IntelliSense is not great. Yeah. So being able to create a spec and well, this is based off entity framework, right? So this is yeah. 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 So I do get everything there off there. Yeah. Well, so the repositories as you laid them down, those specs then don't work necessarily because the repository is bound to DB context here, right? So I could create a non-bound one. This does work for for me because I'm using Mongo and SQL Server, so it does definitely work because I can use the exact same code. So you wouldn't be able to tell just looking at the usage what technology I'm using to query. He says, looking at something that has. Yeah, so here, if I'm querying, do I have one where I have a spec? No. I do not have one where I have where do I use a spec? Oh yeah, there you go. I do have it there. List async. So I get a list async with that spec. So, but this is on Mongo. This isn't SQL Server. So the code reads the same. I was thinking about the way I exploit everything that static list of entries to files with basically 3 lines of code. Yeah. So, I mean, um, big stamp on slide two. I was late for the street. I was late for the presentation. Yeah, yeah. But Sean continued to apply a little bit of um, gentle nudging towards me doing a talk for the user group as well, which is terrifying because I've never done that. I have way more coding motivation when watching others do this. I think it's seeing productivity and yeah, like finding that project, um, doing that project. You know, like I was saying before, um, if you have a passion for it, if you enjoy doing that and you are chasing that, and it's not boring, then it will, you know, just keep yourself moving forward. If you find the problem with the reason I chose this project was because I have a passion for this problem, right? And I wanted to solve it in the way that I felt it could be solved, not necessarily should be solved. It poses a challenge that, you know, um, it's going to give me lots to do, right? And I have, you know, a lot of pieces. Um, Oddly, doing it online was way more stressful than doing it live, though. I should code less. It feels like me typing took up most of the time. Last time I did it, I had stage code, so everything was pre-programmed. I think there's a balance. I think copy and paste examples are harder to show, but in the version of the presentation where you're typing, if you're talking at the same time and distracted, or you type, you misremember something, yeah. So that's the scary thing, I think. And yes, me too. Yeah. But the snippets might have, you know, the intro side. Yeah. Okay. Um, and Melaneth, I did a git commit yesterday about Crido, so hobby. Nice. From chaos to order, using the repository pattern the right way. Nice. This whole presentation is actually a big bait and switch. The name should be. That is a very good point. I like that. Yes. Yeah. It takes a long time to realize that, doesn't it? Hold on. You mean it's a recommendation, not a how-to? Ah. You structured your code wrong, have I? I can work with it. You know, again, we have different ways. We have different ways of working. We've talked about it before, where you and I don't code the same. We don't write the code the same. We don't look at the problems the same. We don't, you know, build the same solution. And what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. So, but it works. Adapt to your reality and style. Do that. It's a soft topic, yeah. But we continually chase the right answer. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, unfortunately, I have a very important meeting coming up, so I have to end early here today. Now, the good news is we got things working again. If you are ever interested, if this site is up, which it may or may not be, liquid-sky.software, you can sign up for this. You can log in, and you can, you know, tinker with this. If you do so, please go into the Discord. Please leave any feedback. Melaneth has given me a bunch of feedback that I review every couple of days, look through, like, what can I tackle? Where should I tackle this? When should I tackle this? Right? how do I fit certain things into the overall plan? Like, I've not put them on here because I don't know how to necessarily plan them into there yet. But, you know, there's some really good stuff there that I really do sincerely appreciate. So if you are interested in looking at this, you know, as a developer, it's a little bit hard because this is more planning focused. But yeah, available this afternoon considering I'm doing this is vibe coding. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Day off. That's good. So we are going to go and raid just maybe I think it's what maybe does a stream on Friday, right? Actually, let's make sure we go out. It seems we do not have a lion today. So like Tyndall saying, you know, maybe a stream later. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's really worthwhile us as seasoned professionals showing using AI tooling. I think it's a very important thing for us to show. Look, here's where it actually is. Here's how we're struggling. You know, we did the UI stuff yesterday, and I had a lot of information to take in. I was trying to process that, and I think it's important for especially more senior developers to be showing, look, embracing this and using this in the ways that we feel comfortable, and being challenged to use it in new ways is helpful for less experienced devs to see. So I think it's awesome bringing those streams up. So yeah, maybe who we're about to go raid also is doing that on Friday. He's building a LinkedIn clone using it, which is going to be fascinating. And I think people are taking it a bit too seriously. But anyway, we're going to go raid over there. I'm sorry this is a short stream. It would normally not be. If you are interested, you're more than welcome to join the Discord. If you want to have a chat, if you want to show your projects and stuff in there, I am happy to look at stuff. I love hearing what people are doing. I did some vibe coding on GitHub. Then I spent 2 hours doing CR before we did something at work. I caught that machine putting memory copies into my no copy streaming video recorder. I found it twice. Oh, good. It take me like 8 hours to do it myself, but it was instant. I think there's a balance of get me far enough and I'll take over from there, and do the things for me. So, but anyway, I gotta go because I have a meeting. Take care all. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much. And I will see you again tomorrow, where we will continue on with our notifications. Now we've got things working. So take care all. Bye.